Still there.
How are we doing?
I'm not seeing a live feed like I did earlier when we tried it.
No.
Well, refresh because it's going now.
I just did.
And on 4200 photocopies.
All right. There.
And this, it has a brace in there now, and that's just slide it up. If you need it.
City Council meeting for Monday, December 10th, 2018. Roll call, please.
Barnes.
Here.
Geary.
Here.
Austin.
Here.
Matthias.
Here.
McGrath.
Here.
Novacek.
Here.
Oswald.
Here. Pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next is the approval of minutes for the City Council meeting, November 12th, 2018. I hear a motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
Any corrections or comments? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next is approval of monthly roll call. The movement to approve.
I move approval of the monthly expenditures for November 2018.
Second? Second.
Second.
Any questions or comments? All in favor, please say aye.
Roll call.
Roll call, excuse me.
Oswald.
Yes.
Novacek.
Yes.
McGrath.
Yes.
Matthias.
Yes.
Austin.
Yes.
Geary.
Yes.
Barnes.
Yes.
Now is the time for public comment. Is there anyone who has a public comment to make? Please step forward to the podium and please state your name and your address and please speak into the microphone.
Stan Wise, 224 6th Avenue West. I'm addressing you because I'm concerned that we're losing so many of my friends are moving to the apartments in Ashland because there's nothing here. And I attended a seminar at the extension offered about senior housing. And I don't know what I could do, or what you could do, I know that county owns a big piece of property across from the Bergers that they purchased from Northern Lights. And there is property around the city. But there's 3 good friends of mine that are moved into those apartments in Ashland. And I have a whole list of people that I talked to that would like to move into an apartment. And if they can't find one here, they'll be leaving our community. I just hate to see that. So I don't know. I don't know what to do next. If we do have any suggestions, I'd be happy to. That's maybe to look into this, but it's a concern. Lots of retired teacher, and business, and an elder is an operating. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I'm at 605 West 4th Street. We talk about, we're looking at solar down there at the wastewater treatment plant. I think that should be tabled until the whole city can vote on whether or not to spend that kind of money. Because as we know, with that loan, it has to be paid for somehow, which means rates go up. I'm not against solar. I've had a relative with solar, and there's maintenance you have to do to it, like battery banks and other things that have to be done all the time. Plus, I hear that there's pumps and motors that are not energy efficient down there. It costs more money to run. Maybe the city should be more looking into seeing if they can get those updated so they're more efficient. Electricity wise, that may cause us to may use less electricity. But like I said, I have nothing against solar. I just think it should be tabled at this time. And put on referendum on the spring vote and let the city vote on it as a whole. Thank you.
Anyone else have any comments they'd like to make a comment?
I'm Roy Setgas. I'm not a resident of the city, town of Washburn. I just wanted to apologize to you guys because last month I was on the agenda as a follow-up to having been here 2 months ago and talking about Excel's Second Circuit project. And somehow I totally spaced that meeting, realized that it happened the day after, called up Richard. Just discovered that you guys passed a resolution doing exactly what I would have come and asked you to do. So I just wanted to thank you for doing that and apologize for missing the meeting. And I'm just coming from the city of Bayfield that drafted a similar resolution to what you did. And so I think what we're coming up with is a relatively unified community voice in favor of the one option that Excel's proposed. And hopefully that'll carry some weight at the Public Service Commission. So thank you very much. And sorry I was a no-show last time.
Anyone else like to speak?
Well, that's a little much, isn't it?
Hi, my name is Ann Balfour, and my address is Post Office Box 73 in Washburn. I have lived north of Bayfield and in Bayfield since 1981. I want to live in Washburn, but I can't find any place to live in Washburn. I can't afford a house. The house is going up. I can't really afford much for buying a house. So I was interested if the board would really seriously look at adding some housing to the city of Washburn. Maybe low income, maybe not, maybe some of each. There's lots of different ways to do it, as I learned also at the program that Dan was going to. So that's one thing I really would like you to consider for the future for people who want to live there. I will be back to Washburn. Right now I'm not in Washburn because I couldn't find a place for the winter, but I will be back in the summer living in a campground again. The other thing I'd like to talk to you about is CORE. CORE is the community resource organization that's housed in Bayfield, and they are expanding. So I have been assigned to be a liaison for Washburn, and there's now a second liaison, which is Jackie Ray. And I would like to present a program, not a program, but present to you what CORE could do in Washburn. How do I get on the agenda? I guess that's my question. Can I, and how do I?
With the city administrator or myself, or the assistant city administrator, or any council member actually, present what you want to do and get it on the agenda.
So I could find somebody in the office who does that before the next meeting. All right.
We have to have the information about it. We can
in
have
2 weeks.
2 weeks in
Okay, and the
advance,
next meeting is when?
January.
January 14th.
14th?
I'll want that information preferably before the end of next week.
Before the end of next week.
This we have a short.
Holidays.
All right, thank you very much.
You can just speak with me.
Hello, my name is Alex Dakota. I'm in the town of Washburn, but I own property in the city of Washburn too. And I just wanted to speak to encourage the council to accept the grant money for the solar project tonight. Just on the grounds of economics, I think it makes a lot of sense. I don't think anyone's talking about energy prices being cheaper as we go forward. And so this is a project that requires the city to take out a loan for a certain 20 years or something. I think that's going to make good economic sense. Making money to pay that back on the solar, basically pay off a loan, because I don't think the coal generated fossil fuel electricity is going to be cheaper as we used to buy. And just from a moral perspective, I think it's up to all of us to look towards the future and work with a lot of kids, and I want to see them have a decent future. And definitely with the way we've read recent climate change reports that came out last week, it's not looking good. So I think this is a first step, is to accept some money for solar and pushing forward. And I think Washburn has done a good job of trying to be progressive on environmental issues, and I think this would be right up our alley. And so please consider accepting that. Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak? Now to mayoral announcements. I'd like to announce we still have vacancies on the byway committee and on the BART board, and we still need more EMTs and firefighters. If you know anyone who's interested in any one of those positions, please contact any of the city staff or myself. And I also want to note with great thanks that this month is the who's been with us 20 years. This extended length of employment gives great stability to the staff and provides great information, not only for working for the staff and working for the city, but to help the public get through all the city processes. We really could not do what happens here without all these people who work here in the city. I appreciate both these people for many years of service. Now it's time for the public hearing and discussion and action on resolution 18-019, request to vacate the alley in block 6 of Vaughn and Austrian, addition to the town site of Washburn, adjacent to lots 19 and 20. Stephanie Arnson, petitioner, and Ms. Arnson's here. You want to step up in case there's any questions people have for you. This has been working its way through the various city council and the plan commission. You see information in your packet. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Is there anyone here who'd like to speak at the public hearing for this vacating of the alley? Anyone here? I'm looking to close the floor.
So, second.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
So,
Objection to this portion of the alley. This is half of a already mostly vacated alley. So it's 8. What we're vacating here is 8 feet wide by 80 feet. So it goes nowhere. It's of zero value to the city. And because most of the alley was already vacated, Ms. Arnson is seeking to have this entirely vacated. She's looking to sell the property, and just before the meeting, she was able to get a map that came in from the surveyor, which shows exactly where her garage is laid out. Vacating this alley will certainly help with that process. What she will need to provide, and our attorney here can add any details that I am missing. She'll need to basically provide us with a deed that she has to negotiate with the St. Louis Church that would show that she will also be purchasing lot 20 and a portion of the previously vacated alley on the 2 lots on the north side of that alley, so that her garage is entirely within the property then that she would own, and that would satisfy the requirements for us to actually record the vacated resolution. So the recommendation is that the council authorize us to process the vacating what documentation has been received.
Is there a motion to approve this?
I make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Attorney, you have a comment? Any other questions, comments? Sorry.
That's all right. So I guess what is the motion include the deed and lot 20?
I've been working with St. Louis Church with acquiring lot 20, and it's a big mess because they are without a priest. He was initially, when this started, he was on medical leave, and now I learned from the deacon today, who walked around the property with me today. And he is kind of stuck in the middle of all of this right now. All this happened when I went to sell my house. I became aware of the encroachment issues, and he would really like to get this resolved himself, but he is stuck in the middle right now without a priest or somebody that will give him the authority to do this. He is meeting with their financial counsel tomorrow, because I have made an offer on lot 20, and they're going to discuss that and get at least lot 20 resolved, and then not involve the previously vacated alley to come half of the alley. Yeah. He's got 5 parishes that he's trying to deal with right now, and he's the only one. And so that's why it's been held up and been able to make any progress with this.
So as I understand, the motion is to approve the vacating the alley pending the resolution of all the impeding legal illegalities when all that is approved by the city attorney and city administrator. And it will be completed.
I have an update here for my perspective on this. When this was presented to me, I had thought that garage was a separate parcel of property, but it is actually just a portion of lot 19 here. So this vacation wouldn't actually create a landlocked parcel. You couldn't drive to that garage, but it isn't an illegal act for us to do. We couldn't vacate it if it would create a landlocked parcel, but that isn't the case here. Since the garage is part of another parcel. So there's no need for the city council to wait until the other documents are completed to vacate this.
So the motion is to accept the resolution 18-019
Correct.
as is written tonight.
Well, now that our city attorney said that's okay, I would say yes.
And that was the motion.
Yes.
To accept the resolution.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Thank you for your patience. Next is discussion and action on acceptance of award of a RECIP grant for solar panels at the wastewater treatment plant. You have information in your packet. Scott, would you care to say anything on this?
Sure.
Update us?
I can update you. So as I had put in my original memo, we, thanks to Schwagen Renewables and individuals we've been working with, they were successful in writing a grant for us for a solar project at the wastewater treatment plant. And the grant was in the amount of $9,000. The estimated cost of the project is $239-some thousand. Do keep in mind that we did budget for next year to remove the old buildings from the previous treatment plant. Budgeted $20,000 for that. Regardless of what happens, we should proceed with the removal of those buildings that serve no useful purpose. And that way, we would be whatever height we would be that much further ahead. The question that I had posed in here basically is, all right, well, if we did this, what is the implication of this? And we've had some updates on information that we've discussed after my initial memo went out. And we don't have all of the answers at this time. The concern that I was pointing out here is we know that we have a lot of equipment at the treatment plant that is dated. We know that the biggest use of electricity down there is the various pumps and blowers. They're constantly going. And many of those are now some 22 years old. And are in need of replacement. And there will be a cost to replace those. We don't know right now exactly what those costs are. We were not able to include the replacement of all that equipment the last time that we had to do treatment upgrades just because we could not afford it. And so the question going forward is, how do we manage to finance this proposed improvement? And we're anticipating that we'll have additional costs and needs at the wastewater plant going forward. We know, as you're all aware, that this is 2019 is the first year in some 10 years that we anticipate at this point that the sewer utility will operate in the black, we hope, without any unforeseen circumstances that may come up. And that has been a long road to get there. So we've been diligently working on improving the financial status of the sewer utility. And concern is how much can they take on, because the other funds just do not have the capacity to continue to donate dollars to the sewer utility. And so there is the concern. How do we finance that with a fund that has little to no capacity as it stands? The solar project would basically pay for itself with the reduction of energy costs. And that can work. It comes down to, there's a few variables there. It comes down to how it can be financed. And therein, there are a few options, and we don't have all of that information yet. This is a loan that the sewer utility takes on, borrow money through the utility. We'd have to do the general fund borrowing, which is fine. We would seek to pay that back with sewer dollars. A conventional borrowing through a bank, you can only borrow for up to 10 years initially. You can refinance that then later to a longer term, which we would need a longer term in order for us to cash flow this project. Whenever we refinance, we are subject to whatever the rates are at that time. We have the ability to borrow the dollars from the state trust fund. Currently, those rates, they have gone up from where they were previously at. Most interest rates have gone up over the past couple of years. So if we did something up to 20 years, we're looking at 4 3/4% at this time. If we did it for 20 years, then our likelihood of being able to cash flow the project is most likely doable. We don't have all the final information on this, and we won't have all the final information on this until we would actually bid the project out. Once we receive a bid, we would know exactly where the costs are that we would have to pay. We can compare that with our estimate, and the council would have the option at that time to say, this is just too expensive. This is something that we cannot afford to do, and basically push that decision to a later date, which would likely be March, April, sometime in that time frame. The costs that you would incur in doing that, basically going forward at this point and preparing bid documents, I would estimate that to be in less than $5,000. We'll probably have some consulting expenses that we would have to pay for to give us some of those technical details, but we have our templates for bid documents, which we do. It's just a matter of our time in preparing that as well.
I ask a clarifying question just on that piece.
Yes.
Because, so we have to let them know if we're going to accept the money by December 21st. And so if we get the bids back and all of a sudden like, oh, we can't do this, aren't we already committed?
That's a good question, and I'll address that
Okay.
now.
Because I was looking for more time here, as you
Sure.
can imagine.
And that is actually I need to inform, let's focus on energy. I need to inform them tomorrow as to whether or not we accept the grant. Because if we decline it now, they will seek another applicant to fund their project. There's nothing to say that we go through all of our motions and do our due diligence, and later on down the road in March, April, it determined that we're not able to do it. Would anything bad happen to us? No. We would apologize profusely and say we had all intentions of doing this, but when our bids came back, it was higher than we anticipated. That would really be the reason why we would not go forward with that
We have to
project.
have projects that run over and then maybe they can
Right.
switch that money to. Okay.
So, and that's what would likely happen. We don't like doing that. It doesn't necessarily look good when we do that. And so that's really where it gets a little tricky, I know, for you tonight.
We would not be penalized for returning the money.
So,
But we shouldn't do that if the bids come in and what we anticipate. The difference if the bids come in higher, but
correct.
we just change our mind.
There's potential it could be lower. I don't know if that would occur. Usually it always does go up a little, but those are basically the options and issues. I am not necessarily worried about our borrowing capacity. This is a relatively small loan, and we're retiring a large amount of debt. What I am concerned about is the potential. We know that we are going to have additional sewer capital items that are going to need to be addressed. And I cannot say that we would be able to afford doing whatever that might be and this project without the need to increase rates or to have other funds contribute again towards the sewer utility. That is the question in my view.
Question. When you say that the rates, can you give a likelihood of whether that, I mean, do we have a number that they could come through that we could be comfortable with, and then give a clear, sort of an explanation to someone as to why we're denying going further with the public project because it's only this limit that we set for ourselves.
If we would finance it for some 20 years, based on the projections that we have, I believe that we would make it right now, but we would have very little, if anything, to contribute towards any other needs of the sewer utility, unless those needs somehow also could be paid for through energy reduction, and I just don't have that information at this time.
We have some people here from Schwamigan Bay Renewables who would like to speak. Is there a motion to open the floor?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This is done. Come forward. State your names, please.
Hi, I'm Gail Chatfield. This is my husband, Bill Bailey. Check Bay Renewables, that's how we refer to it. Because we consider Check Bay to be our community, the entire area. We are not from Washburn, but this is our presentation.
Gail and I put together this, I'm just going to read this. It's about 3 minutes. It's not a big long thing. And then we'll be open for questions. The proposed solar project and energy efficiency measures of the wastewater treatment plant are unique long-term investments. The day the solar project is operational, it starts generating electricity, which obviously has a value, like money. The investment is unlike investing in roads or buildings or buying vehicles, which are all necessary, but they do not generate revenue. The solar facility will save money, pay for itself, and over time, the savings will accumulate and can be reallocated elsewhere. There are 2 scenarios here. Don't do the solar project and pay the electric bill as usual, or do the solar project and start out by paying the same amount, but split it between your electric bill and paying off the loan. It will not take any more money out of the city coffers. That's an important part. This does not cost you anything. While paying off the loan, savings start to accumulate and will generate $156,000 in savings in the first 25 years. After that, you have another 15 to 25 years of free electricity. That $156,000 is documented in that table that I passed out earlier. These financial numbers have been presented in detail to the city administrator and your mayor. The action item before the city council tonight is whether to accept the $79,000 RECIP grant. Let's be clear, accepting the grant is not the final step or an irreversible commitment. Final project approval will come after you have issued bid documents, receive those documents, have time to review them, and rerun financial analysis. Accepting the grant is a stepping stone along the path, and I can see no downside in moving forward. RECIP funds are not actually received until after the project is completed. If you don't do the project, you never receive the money, and it is reallocated elsewhere by the state. Energy efficiency measures are always encouraged, and I commend Joel Weber for suggesting and initiating an energy audit. Once that audit is complete, you can determine the amount of energy savings and at what price. At that time, you will have the necessary information to make an informed decision as to whether you can secure the funds for one or both projects. I'm not here to advise you on how much money you can borrow. Scott will advise you in these matters. I can tell you, though, that the solar project will cut expenses, saving the energy money, and if structured properly, the energy savings will pay for the loan and free up funds for other uses. It is a good investment, and future mayors, city administrators, and taxpayers will thank you for it. Your community believes in renewable energy. In 2018, the Swamigan Bay area had the largest solar group-wide in Wisconsin's history. Larger than Madison, Milwaukee, La Crosse, or Eau Claire ever. And it looks like 2019 will be equally as good as people are signing up daily, all by word of mouth. The momentum is building. Remember the Eco-Municipality Declaration in 2005, or the Energy Independent Community Declaration in 2009? Now is the time to fulfill those promises. Not only does it make good business sense, but it is the right thing to do. Because of all these reasons, I strongly recommend that I accept Wisconsin Focus on Energy.
You can stay up there, Bill, in case there are questions for you.
I do have a question. Are you aware of any other funders that we could go to for additional help with the project? I mean, once you get a nice chunk, $80,000, that can help leverage other funds. But I, in my experience, I'm not familiar.
There is another project, another Public Service Commission grant. They excluded the water and sewer utilities from that grant in the last grant. What they'll do in the next grant is unknown. We probably will know in May of this year. And at that time, you could apply for additional funds. In the meantime, you could accept this grant, secure the financing, and then if something else comes along the line, then that would be just less financing. So I would, if they change the rules, you bet.
And this is a Wisconsin.
Public Service Commission. It's also run through the Focus on Energy.
You're not aware of any federal?
No, the only one that is out there in federal is the USDA REAP grant, Rural Electrification of America, but it's only for rural business. And I specifically asked for the Greater Bayfield wastewater treatment plant if they consider a sewer plant a business, and they said no. One other little small comment I might make, and this is another to this gentleman, there are no batteries in the system. There's no replacement batteries of any kind. There is basically no maintenance. There's only two components. There's solar panels or modules, and there's an inverter. The inverter is planned to be replaced about 20 years down the road. So if you're going to run out the finances to 40 years, which I did in the table, it's the prices in there to replace that inverter once are included in these finances. You can get standard warranty for an inverter for about 10 years. The panels, standard 20 to 30 years warranties. You can buy extended warranties, that 10 years to 15 to 20 years for the inverters. And at that time, if you get an extended warranty for 20 years, you can replace it and then go to 40 years. The panels are protected to last 40 to 50 years. There's no new moving parts. There's nothing to grease. There's really no maintenance.
Karen, you're coming.
Yes, Mr. Bailey, in the chart that you have provided to us, it indicates that in year 10, the cumulative savings would be about $7,700. So it isn't until year 10 that we come out on a plus side in terms of realizing savings.
No, actually, it would be on about year 6.
Okay.
This is kind of a summation table. I just included
Because it was
instead of
right.
That is such a small number. It's what we would call cash flow neutral. It could go be plus 600 or plus 600.
I just wanted to know what year it was that we started.
Yeah. Okay. Year 6 is the answer to your question.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Jeremy?
Thanks for being here. One scenario we were presented that, kind of a good scenario, is that the demand at the water treatment plant, the demand for energy goes down. If, how does this solar program work? Maybe you don't know. If we're generating more energy we need at the water treatment plant, what could we do with that power, do you know?
I do know. The solar project, as it is now with the current usage, is offset about 33%, somewhere in that range. If you do energy efficiencies, if you equated exactly what Baker Electric is doing, in other words, your 508,000 kilowatt hours a year goes down to 350 through energy efficiency measures, your percentage would go up to 45%. Okay, I believe you have community solar for approximately 50%, so you can do community solar, which you've already done, energy efficiency measures, and this project, and it would cover most of the money. None of it would really go back. And Excel does have a net metering policy. If you overgenerate for a particular day or a month, you get credit on your next bill. And so you true up once a year on December 31st, and with the cloudy weather we have, for example, the last month, we definitely use up all the credits you might get.
Thank you. Any other questions? Comments?
Can I make one more comment? The energy efficiency part of this, I referred to it in what I read. You don't know what it costs to fix, to get new motors, more energy efficient motors. And I'm sure if your motors are 22 years old, I'm sure that new motors would be much more efficient. But they're just like the solar. Anything you can spend on those will reduce your usage and should pay for itself, depending on the exact numbers. And you don't know that till you get your energy audit and you get the prices put in. But if they are a good investment, they should pay for themselves. You know, just talk about raising utility rates. I don't recommend it. It's not necessary. These projects will pay for themselves. You do not need to raise rates.
Okay. Anyone else? Tom, you have some comments?
Yeah, I have a question for them. The fact we do have a lot of cloudy days. How do you store energy? Or are they still hooked up to Excel Energy?
Hooked up to the grid. The grid is your battery. It's similar. So you don't store any energy. It's all you use it, or if you happen to overgenerate, it goes back into the neighbor down the road. You get credit. It's a bi-directional.
Yeah, well, that's way different than what the other ones that I have seen. The one that my cousin had his old property where he had battery banks so that when it was cloudy, the energy was stored, so he didn't have to be online or on the grid.
We're not recommending this being.
Okay. Any other council member have questions, comment? Well, as I've thought about this a lot, and I've talked to Bill and I've talked to our city administrator, and I cannot see a downside for us to accept this grant at this time, because we can always not go ahead with this project once we know the true cost. This is, as Bill says, a step in that direction. And I would encourage you to vote to. My business will always be willing to take some austerity at the beginning. If there's a good payback in the long run, I see an excellent payback as a business person in this project. We don't have all the answers tonight, but by accepting the grant, we can.
Just thought, you indicated that you had to indicate by tomorrow whether we would move ahead. But beyond that, is there a time frame in which we would have to make a final decision? I recognize the bid would have to go out and the project would have to be costed, so we would know what those costs were. But is there a deadline? A must start or must sign something or agree to it?
And then it defer to, I think Bill knows that.
There's not a start date, but there is a completion date. And the completion date, I believe, is the end of next fall, before the snow flies, like November 31st, I believe.
I think it was December 19th, 2019.
All right,
Because it
so,
says
you
in
know,
our-
the end of next year is your
Yeah.
completion date.
I understand.
And so
completion.
the construction time period is the summer, and what we'd like to do is put out the bid documents in the spring. Well, and then probably March, February, March, put out the bid documents. You know, that's 30 days, you get the documents back. April, you're going to be looking at the documents, rerun financial analysis, you'll have exact figures at that point, and then make a decision in April or May as to proceed with the project or not. And then the contractor will have all the summer to
Okay, and I think you've answered the question. There isn't a deadline in terms of when we must say, yes, definitely, we're moving forward. Okay.
Jeremy?
I've already spoken about it.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay. I'd like the clarification. By not having all the information we have, my vote would have been no tonight. The ability to accept and move forward with more numbers to come in, particularly what the costs will be at the treatment for all the new machinery we need down there, makes a difference. But my question then would be, we'll have those numbers also in like February, March.
We anticipate having the energy audit information sometime during the month of March.
I'll make a motion that we accept the award of the RESIP grant for solar panels at the wastewater treatment plant. And one reason I'm excited to make this motion, and we haven't talked about it, is that I see climate change as a big problem in our entire planet, and it's really exciting to be able to make this.
I second.
Any further discussion? I just want to comment, the rush here is not a rush by Check Bay Renewables or the city administration, or this is imposed by the funders. They want an answer now. We wish we could say we'd have to give an answer in a few months, we know more, but we need to know this now.
Well, and I appreciate all the information that was put together. It was very helpful. Thank you for your spreadsheet. It was very helpful, so all the numbers that you put together. So thank you.
Any other comments or
I
questions?
have one more comment.
Yes.
If anybody really likes spreadsheets and wants to get into details, I would like to sit down with you. These are just summation tables, and I've got lots of spreadsheets. Scott and Richard both know.
You see
all
what
the
this
spreadsheets.
And I'll just make one other comment that just to continue, I appreciate all this information and I'm just so excited that this has been put in front of us. I feel like I didn't lift a finger to do any of it, but it's very exciting to go forward. And thank you to everyone who provided the interest and has been working on this.
And it adds to our other solar stuff that we have going. We all voted on earlier this year for the other sites. So, and the water and the sewer plant was one of these that we identified that was the most, had some of the larger energy bills, and we weren't really. And so I feel like it kind of fits into the whole puzzle that we. Right. So we have other projects coming up with solar.
Well, just briefly, I don't want to get too far off topic. We did buy into the Excel solar farm, and so we paid our contribution towards that. As far as the other sites, which was one of our initial things, we have not moved forward on that until we know if there are other grant opportunities for any of the other sites that were previously identified.
I want to respond to Jeremy's comment. I think City Council is making some of the hard work here, because you are the ones who are deciding. You are the representatives of the community, and if the community doesn't care for this, I imagine you'll be hearing about it. Or if they like it, I hope you'll be hearing about it. Yes, Mary.
Just one more, just going back for Joel Weber, our charge, the second paragraph is, we are currently using approximately 800,000 kilowatt hours a year. Bayfield wastewater uses 350 kilowatt hours, which is process is comparable in size to ours. Ashland wastewater uses the 900,000 kilowatt a year. It's a major facility, so we have some real problems down there that need to be addressed.
Scott wants to comment on that.
Okay.
Can I don't know, Mary, perhaps I had emailed it out, and I hope I gave you a copy of it. There was a correction on those figures. But
okay.
The point still is, this was taken, it wasn't his fault. He was looking at a report that had incorrect information on it.
So we're not off that badly.
No, we're not.
We're
509,000.
right.
509.
Nonetheless, we still have we still have some improvement that can
Some improvement there.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's not like double.
Thank you, because I would have been running with that.
I was kind of running with him.
Well, I congratulate Bill Weber on taking the initiative to
Yeah.
look into
Yeah.
this. It's excellent work. So we can improve in many ways. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. Thank you. Thank you for your help, Bill.
Thank you.
Is there a motion to close the floor?
Yes.
Motion is second by Karen.
Yes.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
I'll just say, it's nice to see some high school students
Yes.
participating in public government
As they want.
as they want.
Next is discussion and action on resolution 18.018, 2018 Harbor Commission Budget Amendment number 1 for Coal Dock Project. There's information in your packet. Scott, is there a motion to approve this resolution?
I would so move.
Second. By Ken and John. Any questions or comments? Linda?
I looked at the resolution and it shows what was so this is the 2018 budget amendment number 1. I'm just was confused by what was changing, what needed to be amended. I don't know why I couldn't grasp it. Against. Could you just give me a little understanding of why the amendments needed? What was this?
The amendment adjusts 3 line items within the Harbor Commission budget. 2 of those line items are on the revenue side, and that would be the coal dock grant we received from the DOT. So that is the $1,299,480. And then the other revenue is the $750,000 loan that was taken out for the project. So that is the revenue side. The budget for the project is $2,049,480. So that's the expense side. So the revenues and the expenses will balance.
Okay.
But we need to show in our budget that we have $2 million worth of activity that we otherwise did not show.
In the 2018 budget.
In the 2018 budget, right? Because
We're going back to the 2018 budget and saying, okay, now we got the grant, we allocated the, okay. Okay, thank you. It was a 2018 that was just kind of, was this?
Right.
I thought this was for this year's budget.
The grant was in 2008.
Right, well, I am anticipating.
So we're going into this year's
I am changing this year's, what we're in yet, since this is my last opportunity.
2018, you are amending so that nobody says, where did all that money come and go from? I got you. Okay.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Now, as we do this, the project is not going to be 100% complete in 2018. I'll deal with that later in 2019.
And another amendment.
Right, for 20, but we had nothing in our 2018 budget to reflect the activity that is occurring.
And I think what was confusing me was all the talk in here about the new budget, the new new monies and all that. And then I'm just getting, this must be a typo. Okay, all right, thank you.
Sure.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions or comments regarding this? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Not
It's
for
no,
amendment.
it's not approving any new expenditures. It's an amendment.
Thank you. Next is the discussion and action on 2019 wage schedule. That's 2 different numbers here.
Where, what, oh, yeah.
That's the type of she's looking for.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the 2019 pay schedule, which is in your packet. Is there a motion to approve this pay schedule?
I will make the motion to approve this.
Is there a second? Mary, second. Any questions or comments? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next, discussion and action on 2019 TID number 2 and TID number 3 budgets. We have a memo from our city administrator in the packet. Is there a motion to approve these budgets?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Is there any questions or comments?
I love seeing that this provided someone with a tingling sensation.
The direction you want to go.
Yes, for sure. That's very exciting.
Any other questions or comments? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. Next, we have the resolution number 18-020, adopting all 2019 budgets and expenditures. We have information in the packet with a letter from a note from the city administrator. Scott, do you want to make any final comments on this?
I do have one additional change. In the 2018 budget, we did budget to purchase a police car. We received that police car just a week or two ago, and we're within budget. However, we have to have a vehicle outfitted with the lights and the radios and various equipment that has to go in before it's functional. That is not going to happen until the middle to latter part of January, and you're not going to be able to bill us for that for this year. And so I would also like to carry over $2,500 in the police line item on that. So I'll have to go and make the appropriate adjustments for $2,500 on that. But I do want to include that in there.
And that 2,500 is already left over from the purchase.
This is what we're doing here is the formal way to do what is commonly referred to as a carryover.
Right.
You have to.
The funds are already there, and you just move them to the next.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Is there a motion to approve?
I move approval of resolution 18-020.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any other, Scott, more comments?
And I'll assume that motion includes the $2,500.
Understanding of the $2,500 that will be carried over in 2019 for the police. That's it.
Any other questions or comments?
There was something in your memo about the boat ramp project. You would have an answer to the question prior to council meeting. I guess I didn't know the boat ramp project was. Is that in conjunction with the docks? Is it something else?
Okay.
Sorry. I'm just trying to understand all of the.
Well, that's okay. So I have to go back and read my own memos to understand what I'm doing as well.
Oh, it's a lot in here. Oh, and by the way, I'm really glad we might get windows. Maybe this year. Right?
Not this year.
Well, yeah, but not to be confused.
Okay.
2019. I'm totally talking 2019. I'm not talking 2018.
But I look back at 2017 when I prepare all this.
Okay.
Anyway, to answer your question, and this does tie into our options with the solar project that we just discussed as well. I did not get an answer from the state. I called them several times and they have not gotten back to me on that question. And that question basically is how in our capital fund, using already budgeted dollars, basically carryovers, how that may affect our expenditures, because they have been cracking down on that each year. I've got to argue with them, and so I want to make sure doing something like this, I'm doing it right, that it's not going to cause us a problem with it, because I don't want to lose state aid going into the future. I do not have the answer to that question, but We have a little bit of time.
And
now.
sounds like some plans to be able to move money to different
Correct. 'Cause
funds to be able to where we need it.
Is-
Right? I mean, that's what it sounds like.
Yes, because we did apply for a grant for the boat ramp, the West End Park boat ramp. That's going to be an expensive project. The back of my head, basically, is we'll find out about that grant at the beginning of January. And when we have an answer, we'll report that back. I am hoping at this point, and so far, so good, that we can approach Bremer Bank and update our resolution for the borrowing that we did on the coal dock, so that, assuming we do not spend our contingency on the coal dock project, we can allocate that to the boat ramp project. I really need that to make that work. And then we will have to supplement with either funds that we have unspent in our capital budget, or using the park outlay fund to help have enough dollars to complete that project. So we will put that all together for you when we
I'm
have,
sure that I understood your,
hopefully I answered
the
your,
last two paragraphs, because I was like, okay, I got it. Yep.
hopefully I answered your question.
No, I know a little bit about that. Our limit and how that affects state funding, and I know that you watch that, and so I'm sure you're on it. Just wanted to make sure that we're all. Yeah. Didn't know if you heard back from the revenue service. or whoever the
I have
state-
not heard back from them yet.
Shoot.
Okay, any other questions or comments about this? Yeah, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. Next is a discussion and action on writing off of certain outstanding ambulance bills / utility bills.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second. Any other questions or comments? Scott?
We do not have any utility bill write-offs.
This is
This is just ambulance. Just to update on that, so everyone is aware, we do have a collection service that we submit these to. I did provide a copy of that contract to our attorney to see if he can do better. And he'll report back if he can.
Because I do a lot of collection work. It's something that's pretty, I'm efficient at and easy to do. So maybe that's worth it to outsource that.
What percentage does the collection agency charge them?
There are some variables with that depending on timeframes and so forth. In looking at that, I think it was somewhere around 30%, off 30, 50%, depending on that. So,
Yeah, I guess I never see what we get actually figured out with collections. We only get to see this, which is the ones that don't work out, right? And so I never know if we actually,
I can put some information together on that.
I'm just saying yeah, maybe next one. But I'm just saying, we never see budget where some kind of revenue that we get, but it's probably just piecemealed over the year. Might be small amounts.
Well, it's not going to be a separate line item. It's just going to go into the end. So I believe we have a report on that that's
Okay.
separate.
Yeah.
I'll see if I can-
We just see this one, right? I mean, we always look at those numbers and go, oh.
Any other questions? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next is discussion and action on 2019 meeting, election, and holiday calendar.
I move approval of the 2019 calendar as presented.
Any questions or comments? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. Next is the request from special event Campground Reservation Community Service request top of Wisconsin Good Sam Chapter May 19th, 24th, 2019. These people have come for several years, is that correct? Projects. Is there a motion to approve the request?
I make a motion to approve the request.
Second.
All in favor? Any other comments? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Is there a motion to move into closed session?
There's no liquor licenses to approve?
Not tonight. Sorry.
I was waiting for you, that's my role.
I'll move that we go into closed session, and I'm happy to read the thing if you want me to. Is that all off the agenda already? The council may elect to go into closed session for a portion of the meeting pursuant to Wisconsin State Statute 19.5, parent 1, parent C, for considering employment agreement for a public works director, and E, deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public property, and for competitive reasons, following which they may reconvene in open session to take any action necessary on the closed session items.
Is there a second?
Second.
And I would add, there was some discussion from a community member in the public, in a request to provide a little more clarification on the second portion of this is in the competitive bidding requirements. And it's my understanding that we're going into closed session to discuss the tactics and negotiation stances for the sale of these two properties. So with that, comment.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Roll call vote. Well, first is Linda, you have to accept the amendment.
I accept the amendment. I second it with the amendment.
Roll call, Barnes,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes.
Austin.
Yes.
Mazias,
Yes.
McGrath,
Yes.
Novacek,
Yes.
Oswald.
Yes.
We'll take a couple minute break where we shut down and go to closed session.
Sure.